What's going on, and welcome to the MLB DFS Q&A. My name is Tom Vecchio. Every day I'm here at 4 p.m. taking your questions about the night's MLB slate. We have a 4-game slate tonight. It locks at 8:05 Eastern, not 7:05, 8:05 Eastern tonight, getting that extra hour in for some research, and hopefully more important than research, an update when it comes to the weather tonight, specifically for the Cubs and the Brewers. This game at Wrigley Field is set to have plenty of rain tonight. This all according to Kevin Roth on Twitter. He's a fantastic follow for the DFS industry when it comes to weather and weather issues, specifically for baseball. We are dealing with a lot of weather, a lot of rain tonight for this game. Now, he's saying that there's a late start at best. There's going to be a ton of rain, but if they do play, it's going to be warm and humid, winds blowing out 10 to 15 miles per hour. That's a good bump to the bats. And then, of course, as I said this morning on the solo shot, winds blowing out in Kansas City, another bump to the bats there, which is good to see. So a 4-game slate, which could turn into a 3-game slate, depending on whether or not the weather in Chicago cooperates for the Cubs and the Brewers. So that, of course, is something to pay attention to. We don't have too many confirmed starting lineups as of now. Only I think the Brewers is out. We'll circle back on that. Starting off, Savan, favorite stacks for today. That's what he's asking on YouTube. Tonight's slate, we should be seeing some very chalky teams. We have very, very heavy favorites. We have 4 heavy favorites. We have 4 pretty large underdogs. We should see all 4 favorites as the chalkiest teams on tonight's slate. Looking to the Yankees and the White Sox is probably overall the safest option. All things considered, yes, the Brewers are in a good spot against Alec Mills, especially if the wind will be blowing out. But ultimately, we don't know if that game will, in fact, be playing. So that's why I'll side with the Yankees and the White Sox. If we flip to the some White Sox hitters, of course, they will be getting back Luis Robert tonight. He was activated off the 60-day IL, and he comes in at the minimum salary, $2,000. I mentioned him this morning on the solo shot. If he's going to be in the lineup, it just really matters where in the lineup. Hopefully, we're looking at middle to top of the lineup, which will be great to see. He's minimum salary, and that's something we absolutely need on tonight's slate, where there's just such limited value, and ultimately, most people will be paying up for either Joe Musgrove or Lucas Giolito, who are the 2 best pitching options on tonight's slate. And that's the order ultimately I'm going to be looking at them tonight. We'll be taking Joe Musgrove number 1 and then Lucas Giolito number 2. Now, I think Robert is probably going to be one of, if not the chalkiest players on tonight's slate. We should be looking at him as a solid overall option. Of course, we're going to be looking to Jose Abreu as another fantastic add to the White Sox stack overall. Gavin Sheets was sent down to the minors with them bringing Robert back, so make sure you don't have Sheets in your lineup. Let's just double check to see if the White Sox lineup has been confirmed. It's not confirmed yet. So we'll look to Luis Robert, of course. We can certainly add in shares of Tim Anderson, add in some Andrew Vaughn. You want that potential power upside after they get past the righties, which would be good to see. So the White Sox are leading off at number 1. Let's just flip to some of their options. Overall, not that expensive. They offer some clear value with Robert, $2,000, and then I'll be filtering in plenty of shares of some of their power hitters. The Yankees would be the number 2 stack that I'm looking on tonight's slate. Right here, obviously, plenty of power upside, specifically from their righties tonight with the wind blowing out to left. That's something we want to see. But we also should be focusing in on Joey Gallo. He's not on the split right here. He hasn't, I guess we'll change the filter for plate appearances. Hasn't had enough plate appearances. Obviously, a strong ISO from him in 26 plate appearances versus righties as a Yankee. Of course, that power upside is always going to be good for him, regardless of there's wind blowing out or not. So, Joey Gallo, Aaron Judge, Stanton, all going to be super, super popular tonight. Now, the Yankees lineup should look a little bit different tonight because, of course, there's no Rizzo. They got Luke Voit back. Gleyber Torres went for an MRI after yesterday's game, and we should be getting value with, again, Kyle Higashioka getting a start at catcher because Gary Sanchez is on the COVID IL. So we could be getting a bit of value with the bottom portion of the Yankees lineup. Ultimately, we'd like to side with the top of their lineup and pay up for what is clearly the home run hitters in their lineup. I will say that Luke Voigt, $3,000, not super expensive. He came back from the IL the other day. Yesterday was his first game back. Yeah, 0 for 4, not great to see, but he does have that clear power upside. Best type of stacking method today, Savan is asking on YouTube. I think tonight's slate is a slate that I'll go mostly 4-3-1 and 4-2-2 tonight. I normally go 4-4 as a good portion or a good percentage of my stacking allocation, but this is the kind of slate where it's a small slate. This is where I'll differentiate and jump into a little bit of 4-2-2, which I think is certainly viable on every slate, whether it's 10 games, 15 games, or 4 games. I think going to a 4-2-2 could work tonight. So I'll use the White Sox or the Yankees as a primary stack. And then, if the Yankees are my primary stack of 4, try and get 2 hitters from the White Sox, which would ultimately include, I would almost certainly say Luis Robert, because I want to be spending up for the Yankees. Full stack, get Robert at that low salary, get that value, and then probably look to add in a few more Padres hitters. It'd be great to have some Brewers hitters in there, but we're still waiting on a weather update if, in fact, that game does play. Short slate, Taillon to be contrarian since everyone will be on Musgrove. That is totally an option. Also, I would say a slight amount of salary relief that Jameson Taillon brings at $8,100 is totally something that you want in your lineup tonight, because you can pay up for Taillon plus 3 hitters from the Yankees. You can go to a full Padres stack at home. Obviously, plenty of home run upside for them. And they can be, quite expensive up the top. Grisham, Cronenworth, and Machado are certainly expensive. So yes, absolutely go to Taillon today. Now, I will say I do have interest in Kansas City, some of their hitters tonight. Let's flip to Kansas City quickly, and then I'll bring up Taillon right here just to give you a little comparison. So Taillon is allowing too many home runs this season, and that's something that we can be taking advantage of with the wind in Kansas City. 1.97 home runs per 9 to lefties this year is certainly not good. Just over one home run per 9 to righties. He's allowing a 51% fly ball rate to lefties and a 44% fly ball rate to righties. We look to some of the power options on Kansas City. Ryan O'Hearn, Sal Perez. I wrote up Perez today on numberFire.com. He's probably my favorite overall home run call on tonight's slates. Carlos Santana, Hunter Dozier also have plenty of power. Andrew Benintendi hasn't been starting as of late for them. He's dealing with some shoulder injury, but if he's going to be in the lineup, you could also look to add him. So as much as I'd like Taillon tonight, and I will 100% have some shares of him in my lineup builds, I also am looking to Kansas City again to be a bit contrarian, because that power upside from some of them against the pitcher with a 51% fly ball rate against lefties with extra wind blowing out in Kansas City is not something that you want to be passing on. Let's give these an update. Let's hop back in. Do we have no other confirmed lineups? Savan is saying today seems to be a little weird. It is a little bit weird. It's a 4-game slate, which is of course small to begin with, and we're waiting on major weather information for the Chicago Cubs hosting the Brewers, because this game might not even play. As Kevin Roth says, it's a late start at best. And he's saying, if the field could be in rough shape, where if it's just going to be pouring for, extended period of time, they might just turn it into a doubleheader tomorrow. And then we're dealing with a 3-game slate where we're going to be dealing with super chalky options, a lot of overlap when it comes to lineups, et cetera, et cetera. So we're waiting on this weather update. If it comes through, it's got to come through before 8 o'clock. It would be worst case scenario that doesn't come through before 8 o'clock. So we're waiting on the weather update for Milwaukee and Chicago. Best Milwaukee hitters for today, if they play. Milwaukee is right here. We look to their power. Willy Adames is really bringing some power for them after being traded. Rowdy Tellez is also certainly an option you can be looking to. Basically anyone here in the top tier. Let's look at some of their salaries for the Brewers. Obviously, we've seen Eduardo Escobar be traded there. He's looking solid. Lorenzo Cain is back for them. He's been playing outside of his big game yesterday. He's been relatively consistent for them, not offering a ton of power upside like he did in some of his younger years, but certainly an option can be adding in. And really, for the spot that the Brewers are in a game, again, if it plays, that has 10 to 15 mile per hour winds, if it does play, this is wind blowing out at Wrigley, which we know is so beneficial. I want to say these salaries are very, very affordable. Christian Yelich is under $3,000. The power that Rowdy has at under $3,000, yes. So if I had to rank the hitters on the Brewers, if that's what you're asking, I would take Eduardo Escobar, number 1, Adames 2, Avisel Garcia 3, and then it's probably just a toss-up between Yelich and Tellez at both at 2,900. So Eduardo Escobar has been super consistent. I would say point per dollar value that Willy Adames brings at 3,300 is certainly fantastic. Game stack of the Yankees, Royals, especially if this turns into a 3-gamer. Diffuse on YouTube is asking. Yes, absolutely. This game has an over-under at 10. I believe it opened at 9.5 or 9, and it jumped up to 10. Totally viable strategy, especially if this is a 3-gamer. And realistically, we know that the Yankees are going to be expensive, or at least the top portion of their lineup is going to be expensive, depending on if Gleyber plays with his, thumb MRI, whatever it's going to be. We could be getting some extra value in here where, Tyler Wade, right? If Gleyber is out, Tyler Wade, I guess, could be getting the start at minimum salary. Now, he's not the ideal add to a Yankees stack, but if you're really looking to jam in the hitters from the top, and then you want to get in some of the hitters from Kansas City, right? Like Sal Perez and Carlos Santana and Ryan O'Hearn aren't overly expensive, but when you're paying up for over $4,000 for multiple hitters from the Yankees, and then you probably want to pay up for Musgrove or Giolito, like what would that look like? If you want to pay up for, just take Musgrove because he's a little bit cheaper. We'll go to the Yankees. You just take some Yankees here. You flip to the Royals. I'm big on Santana tonight. Perez tonight. Like this is not the easiest build in the world, right? Like this is barely 3,000 left per player, and we got 4 open spots. So it's certainly doable. And I love the idea of doing a game stack. You just really capture all those runs, especially if it hits the over on 10, which we should see. Favorite one-off at second base, 2K and under. Okay, that's very specific. That's from Kyle on YouTube. Like that's a great question. It's gonna be super specific. So one off at second base from all teams, 2K and under. Ian Happ. I wrote about Ian Happ on numberFire. Again, if that game plays, so let me give you an alternative, then I'll jump into Ian Happ a little bit. So it'd be Ian Happ, and then if Tyler Wade plays, he'd be minimum salary. That's just obviously a bit of a long shot. Adam Frazier at 2,800 or Ian Happ at 2,700. Or, Rougned Odor is also just as good. He could be bumped up into the lineup, especially if Gleyber is out. We could see him hitting a little bit higher. So there's 3 viable options. Ian Happ, I think, is going to be probably coming in at the lowest percentage. So he's going up against Freddie Peralta. And let me just bring up Happ's stats real quick. Now, there's no doubt Freddie Peralta is a very good pitcher. Right, he's coming in with this massive strikeout rate overall this season versus lefties. 29% strikeout rate was obviously great, allowing 0.87 home runs per 9 versus lefties. Happ's a switch hitter, so he'll be hitting lefty. A 53% fly ball rate is terrible, right? Now, if we flip to Happ, now I said this on my article on numberFire today about Happ, is that Peralta is a better pitcher than Happ is a hitter. But if the Cubs are going to be at lower rostership percentages compared to everyone else, why are we not looking to take a hitter like Ian Happ, who has a decent 32.7% fly ball rate? These are the updated stats for Happ this season. Yeah, he's got an 18.4% home run to fly ball ratio with the wind, right? With the wind blowing out in Wrigley. So if this game does play, right, Freddie Peralta is a great pitcher, but if this 53% fly ball rate's going to be shining through, like home runs can just fly out, right? And there's nothing he can do about that. So I like Happ as a one-off. Frazier should be decently popular, so it'd be Happ number 1, Odor 2, and then Frazier. Rod on YouTube is asking, on a small slate, do you focus more on just playing the best plays or focus on what we call rostership now? We don't use that word anymore, just what our company policy, but we use rostership now. Do I focus more on playing the best plays or no? I focus on just trying to nail down the stacks and make roster construction work, where I'm going to get exposure to what should be the chalkiest teams, and I want to make roster construction and my player pool allocation appropriate. So I will, if the Yankees are going to be super popular and it's a 3-game slate and you don't roster the Yankees and they go off for 10 runs, you're just done. Like, you're just left behind. So I want plenty of shares of the Yankees. I want plenty of shares of whoever it might be. And then I'll work in a secondary stack, which could be Kansas City tonight. So it could be Kansas City plus the Yankees, Kansas City plus the White Sox, Kansas City plus San Diego. So that is just the way I go about it. Like, I don't focus on like any like one specific position on slates like this, just because it's mostly going to be about stacks on this. Savannah is asking, which game do you think will have the most offense tonight? It will probably be New York at Kansas City, just based on, we've seen that implied run total jump up, or the overall run total jump up. But it's tough not to say Milwaukee at Chicago, again, if we get an update on that game, because Alec Mills, a low strikeout pitcher for Chicago, and of course Glaber is placed on the 10-day IL. We got an updated lineup from both the Twins and the White Sox. Okay, so this means he's obviously not going to be playing. We're going to see a bump in the lineup for probably Ruben Odor. As I said, we'll probably be seeing Tyler Wade start, so that gives you plenty of value. White Sox, Tim Anderson, Hernandez, a Brave man. Okay, so Luis Robert is batting 7th. He's minimum salary. You could certainly look to, Robert should be one of the most popular players on tonight's slate. Twins. The Twins also should not be popular. I did write up Kepler as a potential under-the-radar option for his home run upside. He obviously has plenty of power versus righties. Giolito struggled a bit recently with home runs, so I wouldn't hate taking a few shares of some Twins players as one-offs in tournaments. But this Twins lineup is pretty solid. You could go to 3, 4, 5, 7 as a stack. You could just go 1 through 4. But Robert should be popular at only $2,000. So to answer your question, New York and Kansas City is my favorite game stack. Milwaukee and Chicago is 2. As Michael Starr just said on YouTube, these lineups are in. These are good lineups. Robert makes lineup construction that much easier today. So if you go to this game, Robert in there, you want to pay up for Musgrove, that's totally fine. You want to add in the power with Judge and Stanton, also totally fine. You want to get, shortstop for Tim Anderson. Like, that's the start of a good stack, right? 3,100. If you take Tyler Wade, he's $2,000, increases your average that much more. Like a full Yankees White Sox stack, if you wanted to go 4-4, which is obviously totally a viable stacking strategy on every slate, is certainly doable tonight. I like India and Farmer from Cincy today. Those players are always in play. They're not on the main slate. That's the earlier game that starts at 6:05 or 6:10 or 6:15, whatever that is tonight. 6:10 tonight. That game's not on the main slate, but yes, Jonathan India and Kyle Farmer are both solid options from Cincy, especially if you're playing the single game slate. Like Jesse Winker, Nick Castellanos, and Joey Votto should be much more popular than Farmer and India. So that makes a nice option if you're building single game lineups. So, tonight's a slate where I'm going to be looking for my main stacks, which will be the Yankees and the White Sox. I guess we're just at the mercy of Chicago and Milwaukee and the MLB if they just decide to cancel this game and postpone it until tomorrow if we get a doubleheader or whatever it might be, or sometime later in the season. But really focusing in on the Yankees, once their lineup's confirmed, what that looks like, getting plenty of shares of Chicago, getting some New York and Chicago stacks together, but then also getting some Kansas City with New York and Kansas City with Chicago, just because, ultimately, Tyone's giving up too many home runs. Right? He's giving up too many home runs, specifically to lefties. So looking to some of the power from Kansas City, again, a team that probably shouldn't be as popular, I think is a really, really solid tournament call tonight. Perez has great splits versus righties. Even it's a righty-righty match for him, I should say. So I'm going to Ryan O'Hearn, Perez, Santana, and Dozier from Kansas City as the main 4 players. Like Benintendi will take some shots on, depending if he's starting or not, just because he's been dealing with the shoulder issue. Do you like Ryan Jeffers or Tellez weather permitting? It would be Tellez. Like I just want that power, especially in that park. with the wind blowing out, as you said, weather permitting. It's Mr. Jackie Moon and everyone who has FanDuel Sportsbook better have 25 ready for Dinger tomorrow. Yeah, it'd be great if we get some dingers today, get the week started off on a good note, get maybe Sal Perez to hit a home run since I wrote him up today on numberFire. That'd be the player I want to hit a home run today. I also think he's legitimately in a good spot going up against Tyone. Let's just look on him. So, of course, we'll be back tomorrow for another home run call. Perez is my number one option on tonight's slate for a home run call. 189 ISO, slightly a little bit lower than we'd like to see, but solid fly ball rate, solid hard contact rate, and a solid home run to fly ball ratio from him. It'd be great if it was a lefty like Andrew Heaney. If he was pitching for the Yankees, this would be an absolute crazy spot for some of the righty hitters on the Royals. But, we're working with Tyone, who still is giving up too many home runs and too many fly balls, especially with the wind blowing out. The weather, again, major concern on tonight's slate. I would say that if Chicago does play, Peralta's a risky option. He just is. There's no way we can say that Peralta, with his 50 or 48% fly ball rate overall, it's 53 against lefties. It's 42. So that makes it, 48.7 overall? It's 48.9 overall. There's no way we could say that Peralta is as safe of an option as Musgrove or Giolito, which is why this morning I ranked them Musgrove, Giolito, Peralta in that order, all things considered. And the matchup for, even though Chicago's not a good team anymore, they trade away all those players, they're still better than Miami. So I think we could be looking at Musgrove absolutely overall number one. And then, going to Giolito number two. I know he burned a lot of people last time, myself included, putting up 0 FanDuel points in 4 innings with 6 earned runs against these Royals that are on tonight's slate. Obviously just not a good performance from him, but he had been consistent for the most part, except for the 0. That's the All-Star game. Don't worry about that, I think, right? Or just some random thing. Overall, just not a pitcher that we really need to be that concerned about. He is much better than he showed in his most recent game. So Musgrove, Giolito, Peralta in that order. Yankees, White Sox as my 2 primary stacks. San Diego just half a step behind New York and Chicago. Chicago White Sox, I should say, and then Kansas City as kind of that next best option. Milwaukee would be in there. It just depends on the weather. I think Milwaukee is in the same tier as New York and Chicago White Sox tonight. Can you rank the players from the Padres game? I assume you mean the Padres hitters, not the Miami hitters. So do I still have the let me just bring up the Padres real quick. They are facing righty, San Diego here. Obviously, we want to get Manny Machado leading things off as the number one option. $4,000 can be expensive if you are trying to pay up for Musgrove or Giolito and Yankees or White Sox stack, depending on how you go about things. But they do have plenty of other options. Obviously, it's still without Fernando Tatis. Going to Manny Machado is solid. Jake Cronenworth, 202 ISO is fantastic. Will Myers, Trent Grisham, and Tommy Pham are all 3 hitters I think you should be very interested in tonight because we're getting decent value on all of them, right? Will Myers, 2,400. I know he's been underperforming this year overall, but he's affordable and can be used in a larger stack for the Padres. So ranking them would be Machado. I think it's just 1, 2, 3. Machado, Cronenworth, Grisham, Myers, Frazier, Pham. Hosmer's also been underperforming this year, just really not bringing a whole lot of power upside. So not a player I've been rostering a lot as of late. So I would just go 1, 2, 3, Myers, Pham, Frazier. All those players should be super solid tonight, especially, I like these players on the bottom tier just because they make lineup construction a little bit easier. They obviously don't have as much power as these top players, but that's why you're paying a more expensive salary. So I'm going to the Padres tonight, half a step behind the Yankees and the White Sox. I do like their matchup tonight at home. Best pitchers for tonight, Mike on Facebook is asking, It would be Joe Musgrove as just the best overall option. Point per dollar option, best matchup, best park factor, all these sorts of things. He's number one. Giolito would be number two. And then Freddie Peralta would be number three, accounting for his salary, which makes lineup construction that much more difficult on a 4-game slate. Also, the weather is an issue. You don't want, Milwaukee and Chicago to say that this game's going to be delayed and you have Peralta in your lineups, and there's no real direct swap from Peralta to, one of the other pitchers. Like if you drop from Peralta to Musgrove, that's $1,200 of savings. Like you'd have to change up roster construction quite a bit. So if push comes to shove tonight and we don't have a confirmed update on Milwaukee and the Cubs lineup is in, I like Happ in the 3 spot. I just spoke about him. I am on board with Ian Happ tonight. If push comes to shove and it's coming down to roster lock and we don't have an update on the Cubs and Brewers game, I'm simply removing Peralta from my player pool. I just don't want to have him in there. I don't want to have to rearrange things. I'll keep some hitters in there just because generally we see the slate, the lock move back for that specific game, so you can swap the hitters out. It's obviously easier to swap the hitters out than it is the pitchers. Musgrove would be in the later game, but the Chicago White Sox game would be starting at the same time, I guess, as the Chicago Cubs game. So I would remove Peralta from my player pool, keep Giolito, Musgrove, Taillon as my main 3 pitching options, and then just take a few shares of Milwaukee and, like a one-off like Ian Happ from Chicago, trying to gain some of that fly ball potential from Freddie Peralta. Again, if this game does play, that's what we're really waiting on for this, because, this lineup isn't good. Like Happ and Wisdom, I guess, would be my 2 favorite plays from the Cubs for that home run upside. Do you like Carlos Hernandez at all with a San Diego Chicago White Sox stack? Yes. So I mentioned him briefly this morning on the solo shot. Obviously, a smaller sample size from him, only 39.1 innings. Like a 28% strikeout rate, is solid. It's above the league average. 14% walk rate. That's an issue, right? Allowing Yankee hitters on base when you're also allowing a 40% fly ball rate in a game with wind blowing out is a deadly combination. Too many hitters on base for free and a high fly ball rate, with wind against a lineup like the Yankees is obviously a deadly combination. So I do like him tonight. I mentioned it again on the solo shot this morning. Like his strikeout upside is pretty solid. Like as long as he can get deeper into the game, none of these like relief starts we want to be looking at. But like he's putting up some decent performances. Like 6 strikeouts through 4 innings. Granted, it's Baltimore. 6 strikeouts through 5 innings against the White Sox. Only 1 earned run. Like that twice, I should say. 6 and 4, 10 strikeouts over 11 innings versus the White Sox and 1 earned run. Like isn't bad. The walks can be a big issue for him. So I do like Carlos Hernandez tonight, to answer your question. It would be limited shares of him, right? And it's just to be different. It's just to differentiate the roster construction, differentiate my player pool. I have no interest in Beau Burrows, by the way, is just going to be an opener for Minnesota. He's not actually going to be starting. So you probably shouldn't be rostering him. He's literally going to pitch like an inning, maybe 1.2. So you shouldn't be rostering him. Alec Mills going up against Milwaukee, even if there was no rain in this game and, it's just normal amount of wind, like you probably still shouldn't be rostering Alec Mills just because he doesn't have a whole lot of strikeout upside. And then Zach Thompson for Miami. Listen, you want to take a pitcher against the Padres, knowing that the power that they have in that lineup, I mean, more power to you. You're a braver man than I am. I would not be doing that. So tonight's slate, I want to say, is very clear with the options that we have. And if this game gets rained out in Chicago versus the Cubs Brewers game, it will become even more clear, where you just roster Giolito or Musgrove, and then you just pay up for the Yankees, the White Sox, and San Diego, with a few shares of Kansas City as a bit of a one-off. All right, so that does it for today's Q&A. I'll be back tomorrow, 9 a.m. right here on the FanDuel YouTube page for the solo shot. I'll be back tomorrow for the Q&A at 4 p.m. right here on the FanDuel YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook page. You follow me on Twitter at DFS_Tom. Until next time, good luck in your contests.